Hello, we are doing the Atkins Diet. We're going to learn a little bit about that. So, about the Atkins Diet, it's a low carb diet which is composed of 4 phases. The first phase is kind of the lowest carb intake. You have 20 to 25 grams of daily net carbs. You're eating foundation veggies, proteins, healthy fats, most cheeses, nuts, and seeds. You're kind of focusing on low carb. And then you move on to phase two. You bump up your daily net carbs to 25 to 50 grams of daily net carbs, and you're going to eat the same things. It's a progressional kind of diet. You eat the same things as the first phase, but you add on berries, cherries, melon, whole milk products, legumes, and tomato juice. And then you go on to phase three, and that's again bumping up your daily net carbs. You're eating the same as phase two and phase one. So you have 50 to 80 grams of daily net carbs, and you're just going to add on additional fruits, starchy vegetables, and whole grains. Phase four is your maintenance phase. So this is kind of like once you plateau into ketosis, it's maintained. So you eat the same things as phase one, two, and three, but you just bump up your daily net carbs to 80 to 100 grams. So history about the Atkins diet. In 1955, Robert C. Atkins received his MD from Cornell University Medical School and became concerned with the practice of prescribing medications like amphetamines to suppress appetites. He thought there just had to be a better way. So fast forward a couple years, 1963, he immersed himself in medical research on nutrition and found studies that showed carbohydrate restriction as opposed to calorie restriction, which provided weight loss results without significant hunger. In 1972, he published his first book, Dr. Atkins Diet Revolution. In 1989 and on to the present, he provided products for nutrition at home. Dr. Atkins established complementary formulations, which would later become known as Atkins Nutritionals Incorporated. And this was a mail order distributor of low carb food and vitamin products. So the health benefits of the Atkins diet, or what they claim are the health benefits, is appetite control, weight loss. It lowers your blood pressure because you're not eating so many carbs. Helps control diabetes, alleviates acid reflux because you're really focusing on eating cleaner and low carb, decreases risk of heart disease, boosts brain function, and helps clear your skin and enhances your sleep quality.
The Atkins diet requires the cutting of carbs in one's diet. There can be some side effects including headache, dizziness, nausea, fatigue, and feelings of weakness, as well as constipation. Other risks include deficiencies in nutrients such as fiber and ketosis if the body doesn't have enough glucose. This can lead to side effects such as bad breath, as well as nausea. There can also be an increased risk of diseases such as heart disease, since the diet does consist of eating a lot of meat from animal sources. This diet can seem practical for many because the main aspect of the diet is to cut off carbs. However, because the low carb diet requirement, most fruits are not recommended in the diet, and most carbs should also be from vegetables. This can be hard for some people, especially those who are not used to a limited diet or don't have a lot of options for their produce in local grocery stores. One might also have to strictly cut carbs if they aren't showing any weight loss, even after reintroducing some foods in their later phases.
There have been several studies conducted trying to answer whether a low carb or low fat diet is better for weight loss. In essence, the Atkins diet earns its merit because in most of these studies, the low carb group loses weight faster over the same period of time as the low fat groups. One study took 40 people with high risk of developing cardiovascular disease and put them either on a low carb diet or a low fat diet, both with restricted caloric intake, consuming the same amount of calories for 12 weeks. The low carb group lost 22.3 pounds, and the low fat group lost 11.5 pounds on average. This difference is statistically significant. One major strength is that members in both groups were consuming the same number of calories, which means the only contributing factor to weight loss in the study is in the content of what the groups were consuming. One weakness is the diet lasted for only 12 weeks, and this does not indicate whether a low-carb diet, such as Atkins, is sustaining and will provide lasting effects of weight loss. Several studies have also been conducted garnering the same conclusions.
So for the average woman, the daily calorie intake for the Atkins diet is around 1,500 to 1,800 calories, which is well below the 2,000 calorie intake mark. And for the males, the daily calorie intake should be 1,800 to 2,200 calories, which is pretty close, but a little bit below. But it is not below the 1,200 and 1,500 calorie intake. And for the Atkins diet, you consume 3 to 4 servings of protein per day, which is 4 to 6 ounces, which is a lot above the recommended RDA for consumption of protein, which is 2.3 ounces. So it's pretty high above that, which is at least 1.7 ounces above our recommended protein. And the Atkins diet focuses on limiting carbs and focusing on insulin production. So the Atkins diet usually has 70% of the calories actually coming from fat, which is 20 to 35% above what we're supposed to be taking. And usually you stay away from saturated, but you can eat saturated and monosaturated, but trans fats should be completely avoided.
The average grams of carbohydrates consumed in a day for the Atkins diet is 158 grams, which is greater than 130 grams of carbohydrates per day. However, the average intake of 158 grams of carbohydrates is 285 grams less than the recommended DRI goal of 443 grams carbohydrates total. Of the 158 grams carbohydrates, 44% is made up from added sugars, equal to 49.6 grams. During the Atkins diet, a person would consume an average of 26 grams of dietary fiber, 2.23 grams soluble fiber, and 10.7 grams insoluble fiber, for a total of 38.93 grams of overall fiber. The RDA for fiber is about 45.1 grams per day, so being on the Atkins diet does not meet this goal by 6.17 grams of fiber. Of the 10 vitamins listed in the NutriCalc report, only 4 are met, which are vitamin B3 niacin, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, and vitamin C. Vitamins below 80% of the RDA are vitamin B1, vitamin D, vitamin E, A-toco, and folate. If you're not aware of your vitamin D and E intakes from this type of low-carb diet, you can risk bone growth health, muscle weakness, and immune system weakness to your body. Your minerals iron, phosphorus, potassium, and zinc needs are met fully for this diet. Minerals calcium and magnesium fall under 80% of the recommended dietary allowances. There isn't much concern for the mineral magnesium due to it not lacking too far under 80% by only 10%, but a calcium intake of 56% may be more at risk for poor bone health, immune system health, blood pressure regulation, and muscle protein if one continues to fall below 80% of the RDA amount.
Physical activity. The Atkins diet claims that exercise is not vital to losing weight. The diet claims that cutting out carbohydrates from your diet is the primary factor responsible for achieving weight loss. While exercise is not part of the diet, it does acknowledge that physical exercise can help individuals to maintain healthy body weight and has health benefits. The Atkins diet is overall a risky method for weight loss. With 3 days of intakes following the diet, 35% of our calories came from fat. This range is acceptable, but it is almost above the daily recommendation that 25 to 35% of your calories should come from fats. Given that physical activity is not part of the diet, increased saturated fat intake above 10% of your calories can be harmful for individuals at risk for cardiovascular disease. The total daily calories we got in our report was 1,731, which was 269 calories under the 2,000 calorie daily intake recommendation. Our protein intake was 199% over the daily recommended intake. This was problematic because without sufficient physical activity, some of the protein will be stored as fat. This contradicts the weight loss claims of the diet. Given that high fat intake and health consequences of eating too much protein, it is hard to recommend the Atkins diet, especially to those who are at risk for cardiovascular disease. Okay, for our first multiple choice question, it is the Atkins diet help to achieve weight loss by eating lots of blank and blank. For the second multiple choice question, individuals on the Atkins diet raise levels of blank in their bloodstream. For our third and final question, the Atkins diet is split up into how many different phases?